Welcome to the deep dive. So, you've sent us some really intriguing sources. You're asking us to look into connections between, well, solar activity and things happening here on Earth, weather, blackouts, all that. And the big question you posed is someone deliberately hiding this stuff?
Yeah, it's a fascinating challenge, definitely. Our mission today really is to sift through what you sent. We need to see where the science is solid, where the claims maybe don't hold up, and importantly, tackle this idea of suppression, like head on. What first caught your eye when you started looking through it all?
Okay, yeah, let's dive right in. What immediately struck me looking at your sources was just how clear the link is.
Yeah.
I mean, between big solar events and messing with our technology, it's like unequivocally proven. It's not some conspiracy theory, it's just physics, right?
Oh, absolutely. And the classic example, the historical one, is the 1859 Carrington event. I mean, that was a monster geomagnetic storm. It caused telegraph systems to just, well, fail. Operators were sending messages with no power source, just induced currents, and auroras seen way down south, like Cuba. Gives you a sense of the scale.
Wow, imagine that today. And your sources, they definitely point out modern problems too, like the 1989 Quebec blackout, 6 million people, 9 hours without power. That was solar activity. And more recently, 2022, a storm knocked out, what, 40 Starlink satellites, plus that 2015 storm that shut down airspace in Sweden for a bit. These are real impacts.
Exactly. And if you scale that up, think about a modern Carrington event. We could be looking at, well, multi-trillion-dollar economic damage, widespread blackouts, maybe lasting months, years even. It could even hit global agriculture, messing with fertilizer production. So this really raises the question, doesn't it? How open is the communication about these very real risks?
Right. And this is where your own sources seem to, well, push back against that suppression idea. You look at NOAA's Space Weather Prediction Center, they're actively monitoring this stuff. They issue public G scales for geomagnetic storms, KP index and all that, S scales for solar radiation, R scales for radio blackouts. And these aren't buried somewhere. They put out public watches, warnings, alerts. They tell critical infrastructure operators. News outlets even report on potential auroras, maybe some minor effects on tech. Seems pretty open to me.
That transparency is, yeah, it's really key here. Okay, so now let's flip it. Let's look at what the evidence you sent doesn't seem to support, this idea that solar activity causes earthquakes or volcanic eruptions. The USGS, the Geological Survey, they're pretty clear. No convincing evidence. That there's just no, plausible physical way for solar energy to get deep down into the Earth crust like that. It mainly interacts with the atmosphere, the magnetic field, not the solid rock below.
Okay, and what about the climate angle? The hottest year on record claims linked to the sun. Your sources actually show the opposite, kind of. Solar activity. It's actually trended down since the 60s. Meanwhile, global temperatures have gone up. So that really points towards, terrestrial factors, human causes, not the sun driving recent warming.
That's a really crucial point about cause and effect. Now, there was one study you found, right, about a correlation between solar flares and gray whale strandings, potentially interfering with their magnetoreception, their navigation sense.
Yeah, I saw that one.
But, while it's interesting, the sort of more robust explanations for why we're seeing more strandings lately, they point to things here on Earth. Climate change impacts, like food scarcity from warm ocean blobs, malnutrition, noise pollution from shipping. Those seem to be the stronger drivers. It's about weighing the likely factors.
And it's not just Earth science. Some of the stuff gets pretty wild, like Comet 3A Atlas. Your sources mention theories about it being hostile alien technology. But again, that's something experts publicly debunked. NASA tracks these things openly, definitely doesn't feel suppressed.
Exactly. And look, the reports you included about actual blackouts in 2024, they really nail this point. Ecuador went dark nationwide, right? That was traced to a specific transmission line failure.
Yeah.
Chronic underinvestment in the grid. New York had outages blamed on equipment failures, suboptimal vegetation management, basically trees hitting lines. Cuba's problems, old power plants, fuel shortages, nothing to do with solar flares. These are very much, earthbound infrastructure problems.
Okay, so pulling all of this together then, what's the main takeaway from this deep dive? The evidence you provided, it overwhelmingly shows, well, pretty transparent communication about the real space weather risks. Governments, agencies, media, they talk about it. But these other claims, linking solar activity to earthquakes or volcanoes, or saying it's the hidden cause of all blackouts, the evidence you sent just doesn't back that up. There doesn't seem to be a hidden hand,
Right. Our dive really confirms it. The actual information. It isn't suppressed. It's out there. It's well documented, publicly available. The real challenge maybe is telling the difference between the solid science and the claims that are, intriguing but just aren't proven, sifting through the noise.
Yeah. And maybe that leaves us and you with this thought. We live in an age with just constant information flowing at us, right? So what responsibility do you have personally in figuring out what's scientifically solid versus what just sounds, well, interesting or maybe confirms a suspicion? Food for thought.